They look more nervous than we do. They actually do. They're like, what are they going to say?
I remember why you wanted that now.
You've got the agenda.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, guess there's over 5 million podcasts.
Which is mental.
Yeah, which is crazy. But 5,000,001,
I'm excited.
that is what the world is missing.
Do you know how many recruitment podcasts there are?
I haven't looked.
I think it's single digits.
I'm not interested.
No, because this is the only one people need, right?
Exactly. If we can do a podcast that helps one person get a new job by some advice we get, or someone who's struggling with their search and it gives them a bit of fun and makes them laugh, that's the reason I think we should do a podcast. 100%. Yeah.
Quick fire questions.
Quick fire questions. We don't have any questions.
I don't have any. I haven't thought of them. Welcome to the Recruitment Playbook podcast. I'm George.
And I'm Patrick.
We made it.
We did. It's really exciting.
I'm really happy to be here. Welcome to our podcast. We are We Do Group, and this is the first episode of the Recruitment Playbook, where every week we're going to try and do a bit of a loose format where we're going to give you a market update. We're going to talk about a hot topic at the moment. We're going to give you some advice, and then we're going to go through some quick fire questions. But before we did any of that today, we just want to give you a bit of an update as to who we are and why we're doing this.
And do you know what the world needs?
Go on.
Another podcast.
You've got a stat about this.
Yeah, guess there's over 5 million podcasts.
Which is mental.
Yeah, which is crazy, but 5,000,001.
I'm excited.
That is what the world is missing.
So, do you know how many recruitment podcasts there are?
I haven't looked.
I think it's single digits.
I'm not interested.
No, because this is the only one people need, right?
Exactly.
So, let's talk about We Do Group.
Yep.
So, Pads, why did you want to start We Do Group?
For me, it was creating a innovative, creative, really fun recruitment organisation that supported as many people as we possibly could. And we wanted an approach that was inclusive.
Yep.
We wanted an approach that was really creative and that we could push the barriers and try and represent people in ways that have never been done before.
Awesome.
So creative freedom, like we want an extension of our business to go to our candidates and our clients, and we want to do the absolute best we possibly can to find the greatest talent, but represent people in the market. But by using new approaches, breaking down doors, doing different things. If everybody does the same thing, nothing evolves. So this is why the podcast links quite nicely into that mindset, I think.
100%. I'm totally with you. My story is a little bit different to that.
Tell me.
I don't like recruiters, but I really like you and Alex, and I really like the rest of our team. And I think there's so many recruiters in our industry that say they do all of the right things, but actually they don't. And it is, everyone says they work harder, they've got the leading tech, they do things different like a podcast, but people just don't do it. And I just wanted to work with nice people, and similarly to you said, just scale a business that can help masses, not a few.
And if we have a great culture here, that will resonate through to the people that we support.
100%.
I think that's a really big thing. Like have a great culture internally, and people see that.
Completely. So what's your take on us doing a podcast?
I think it's a great way to add value, to support, to have some fun, to give some advice. It's another way, and in recruitment, there's so many different mechanisms and ways that you can reach different people. You know, LinkedIn's great, emails, AI, our database. You know, if we can do a podcast that helps one person get a new job by some advice we get, or someone who's struggling with their search and it gives them a bit of fun and makes them laugh, that's the reason I think we should do a podcast. 100%.
Yeah, awesome. So on that, how's the market? Let's go topic number one. How's the market been for you?
Do you know everybody asks that question, don't they?
And it's the easiest and the hardest to answer all at the same time.
So you go, how are you? Great. So how is the market? And it's a really subjective answer depending on where you sit.
Couldn't agree with you more. My response to that is always, if you ask 3 recruitment consultants, you may get a different answer.
Yeah.
And that's because every recruiter has a pocket of their own clients.
Yeah.
And if all their clients are recruiting, they go, the market's amazing, it's so good at the moment. But if their clients aren't recruiting, it's the opposite perception.
Yeah.
The added way you can get that is obviously what candidates are saying, what clients are saying.
Yeah.
So what's your take from January to now?
So when you're looking for a job, you've got to know the market in order to use the market. So if you know what market you're in, that dictates how you approach it from a search perspective.
Absolutely.
I mean, I quite like looking at statistics, so unemployment is slightly up, but that's a general broad brush across the whole of the UK.
Yep.
So then when you narrow that down to professionals, white collar workers, it's a lot less. So talented people are always in demand. I think there's a cautious optimism in the market at the moment.
Really good phrase.
Yeah, I think it's gathering pace. I think because of what's happened with the economy, with interest rates, with lots of political unrest, what companies do is they come into the new year and they want to see. They've got brilliant people telling them, analysts telling them, this is what's going to happen this year. But until they're in it, they don't believe it.
Yep.
So once you creep into once you creep through quarter one, you then have a bit of a model as to what the rest of the year is going to look like. And I think people have been pleasantly surprised with their results, which means they're now looking to hire more talent to capitalize on the market that they feel they're going into.
Yeah, I completely agree. Are there certain areas that you're seeing that we're recruiting in more or less? So temp, perm, senior, junior. What are you seeing?
I think there are more acquisitions happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's a distressed company or a company that would bolt into someone else, it's a great way to save that part of the business but bolt it in. So we're seeing integration work is picking up.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing in interims to help merge organizations like the back office merger. I think there's a real need for technical accountants at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
People want to make sure that they're in a really strong position in order to then grow. So I would say, Q1 for us has been group accountants, financial accountants, technically strong finance directors, people who can put the company back on a platform, almost do a bit of an operational audit on how a business should be run and how a finance function should be run.
Yeah, 100%. From an interim perspective, we did 2 group accountant jobs last week.
Yeah.
One of which was because they were taking a regionalised structure into something far more centralised and bulking out the group team on the back of that. Another one was something that you always are going to have, and it was poor performance. So we then had to bring in an interim on the back of it just to cover the workload, as it were.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the work we were doing in private equity,
mm-hmm.
there's a lot of PE firms that are cash rich.
Yeah.
They have got funds available. They've been kind of sitting on that waiting for the right investment. So I'm starting to see a little bit more PE activity where then they're bringing in teams to execute a plan, be it over a 3 to 5 year period.
Awesome.
My view is if you're great at your job and you can really add value to an organisation and you're culturally aligned, there will always be an opportunity out there for you.
Yeah, I agree with you. So going on the PE thing, that's quite interesting because something I often get asked is how do I break into that PE space?
Yeah.
So I'm a finance director,
Yeah.
hypothetically.
Yeah.
God help me. How do I get my first PE backed job?
See, it's an old aged question. What's the saying? I don't know what that is. Harry, what's it called? Age-old question that people always want. When you break down any skill set, so I need someone who's done M&A.
Yep.
And if you haven't done M&A before, you can't have the job. When you break down what M&A is, it's relationship building, it's analytics, it's presenting the numbers. When you work in a PE environment for me is I give you £1
mm-hmm.
and I want £1.30 back.
Yeah.
So for you to make any money, you've got to make £1.40.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a real pressure on investment, cost control, analytics. Because I put that money in, you've got the day-to-day running of your business, but also I need to know what's going on as well because I'm an investor.
Mm-hmm.
So the PE world tends to be very cost controlled. It tends to be very analytical. It tends to be data sets. How can you drive performance to then execute a sale? So you're looking at growing the business without spending lots of money. So the PE world tends to be very fast-paced. You tend to find there isn't a lot of investment in back office. So you've got very busy people doing very busy jobs, but we're happy to work really, really hard for 3 to 5 years, hopefully execute a plan, which may be an IPO, a trade sale, a private equity sale to another business, take our money, we have a break, and then someone pays us loads more money to go and do it again because
mm-hmm.
we've got that badge. So for someone to get into that world, I think it's just demonstrating growth in an organization, demonstrating skill sets, demonstrating a personality to tell a story, analytically very, very strong. Because if I haven't worked in a PE-backed business, but I can demonstrate as a finance leader that I've helped scale a business, that's what people want. How can you add value to make me more money?
Yeah,
so
completely.
focus on being great at your job. There is that, if I work for a PE-backed business and I know people in that world, there is that you're competing against people who know it, been there and done it, and also can be portfolioed from company to company. So you do have to break into that market, but focus on your skill sets, focus on having a narrative you can be proud of growing an organization.
100%. So PE stuff is up at the moment.
Yeah.
Interim stuff is up. Technical reporting's up.
Yeah.
Any other market updates?
No, I think it's very competitive.
Totally agree. So that leads us on hot topic of the week.
Yeah.
Hybrid working.
Oh, I love this.
I love hybrid working. That's the thing.
Yep.
So I love having that flexibility.
Break it down. Why?
I love it because I think it's really important to build a culture in an office.
Yep.
So actually, I think being in 50% of the time, give or take, is really key.
Yep.
I'm a massive advocate for having some free time. I like putting a wash on at 10 o'clock in the morning. I like seeing my daughter when she's at home.
Yep.
I like doing all of that stuff.
Yep.
And people are scared to say it, I think. People go, oh yeah, I'm at home, but I'm changed my laptop from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And the perception when this hybrid thing came in massively, COVID, whatever, is people were saying I felt so much pressure to work harder because I was given the trust to actually do that.
Yeah.
What's the other old phrase? Give enough rope to...
Give someone enough rope to hang themselves.
Yeah, awesome. I think that it's finding that blend, finding that trust. And my view personally is give people that rope, give people that trust and do it. But we are seeing more and more and more, I would say the last, this year, maybe last 6 months, people are really now trying to drive people back into the office, 100%. I would say more than ever.
Yeah.
You had a call with somebody this morning, which backs that story up.
Yeah, there's an organisation that we're helping at the moment, and they have a 5 days in office policy.
Yep.
And that comes from their chief executive.
Mm-hmm.
They've just purchased a company, quite a high profile acquisition, and the company that they've purchased have a complete hybrid working model. The new acquired company are now fitting into the everybody needs to be in the office 5 days. And lo and behold, it's causing and rightly so.
Yeah. So do you know yet the number of, or the percentage of people roughly that are going to potentially leave on the back of this?
It will be astronomical.
I agree.
It will be so much higher. And it's a really interesting thing at the market at the moment because maybe go back 5 years, everybody wanted career progression, everybody wanted salary. What's the base salary?
Yep.
And how much more can I earn? Now the biggest driver is flexibility, autonomy. Treat me like an adult. You know, my biggest view on hybrid working is hire great people, pay them really well, and let them work.
100%.
And if you let them work and just add value, like surround yourself with really brilliant people, and the world is easy. Don't hire brilliant people and then tell them what to do.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of quotes, we're going to say, but the Richard Branson quote is hire great people and let them do their job, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just the best thing to, I guess, live a business by.
So psychologically, if you say to someone, George, thank you for joining our organisation. We have a great office and you can come in 5 days or 1 day.
Yep.
Your decision. And that enables you to plan your week depending on the impact you can have. So if you have got 3 great meetings with operational leaders or clients, you might want to be in for those 3 days. If your week is very project-based, you just need to be on your own working, you might not want to come in because you can just focus on that. If I tell you what you can do whatever you want, you might come in 4 days, 3 days maybe. If I then say to you, George, you have to be in the office 3 days, because I'm telling you what to do, human nature is we don't like it.
Yep.
So you were coming in 4 days because it was your choice. I've now told you you've got to come in 3 days and you're frustrated about it because I'm telling you what to do. So the market is so hot on this. I think you need flexible working. You need to give people a great environment to thrive, but let them make the decision. And if you make the culture brilliant and you make your office great and you hire talented people and you really do collaborate when people in, you give people a reason to come in. So if you want people to come into the office, give them a reason to come in.
100%. It's all of the other stuff though, because businesses like to have a definite yes or no.
Yeah.
So I think you're totally right. People should be able to make their own choice. But what I would hope is that people go, I'm going to come in 50% of the time. I'm going to be an adult. I'm going to be here when I should be. I'm not going to be here when I'm not.
Yeah.
But I think people feel so much pressure to go one side of that or the other.
Yeah.
They either rebel or they drive into it.
Totally.
So what do you think is the current accepted state in the market that most businesses are looking for?
If you take a broad brush of the market, it's 3 days in, 2 days out.
I agree.
The companies that hire the best talent do 1 day in,
4 days out.
or you pick what you do for the other 4 days.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a community day on a Monday where everybody's in and we get to get some FaceTime, we get to collaborate, we get to have some fun. Sometimes being in an office is having someone around you when you've had a bad day. We focus on the positive, but if I've had an awful day and I'm never in the office, you can sometimes feel very isolated, you can get a bit lonely. And the problem with complete flexibility is you tend not to feel connected.
Yes.
So having a connection with your colleagues and your friends is really good for morale, for mental health. But yeah, it's 3 days in, 2 days out, but flexibility on those days.
Yeah.
Any more than that, You go to 4 days, you cut off 70% of the market. You go to 5 days, you cut off 95% of the market. It's that important at the moment.
So you said a really interesting thing then, flexibility on those days.
Yeah.
Personally, I actually disagree with that point.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're going to come to the office, there's the point on, yes, you should come in for important meetings. Don't come in for the sake of coming in. But then the camaraderie and the morale piece, if you come in on a day and your team aren't there, then it completely negates the point of doing it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think having a day where you're all in and you make the effort to go in and you sit and you have lunch and you have an agenda for that day, it's brilliant. If you're going in, but all you're doing is going into work in an office on your own, you may as well be at home.
Do you think it differs the level of, or the seniority of the role as well, and the job that you're doing, how many days you should be in the office?
No.
So the point I ask on that, yeah, I can see it. We just did a payroll project for a client, and the payroll team work 1 day a week in the office, 4 days a week from home.
Yeah.
Because payroll is so, I've got my headphones in, I'm in my own brain, I need to just crack on with stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of the finance team actually do 3 days in the office, 2 days from home.
Yeah.
And I understand it in that sense, but then is that unfair on the people in the MI team who want to work from home 4 days a week? I don't know.
It is. Yeah. I think you need fairness across an organization. I think otherwise you start to get teams within a company, and the best companies, okay, you're going to have a marketing team and a finance team and a sales team, but if we all move at different paces and in different ways, what you get is subcultures.
Yep.
And if you can connect those cultures within an organization where finance is sat with sales and marketing is sat with technology, because everybody understands and there's that cross-pollination throughout an organization, that's when you get the magic. So you need community days where I think you can enable people to go out, walk, and understand what's going on in other departments.
The phrase I heard so much in and around COVID was the water cooler chats. That's
100%.
the bit that people were missing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly as you just said.
And laughing.
That's it. It's the simple little tiny bits.
Beating you at table tennis.
Yeah, all right, thanks.
You know, so it's important.
Yeah,
right?
I
It's
do
good for
agree.
morale. The one thing I would add onto it is flexible days is really important, but flexible hours.
I would give that more weight than the days.
So if you do not enable your employees to pick when they start and pick when they finish, you again lose talent, because everyone has to be at their desk at 8:30. That might be great for the person who's up early, goes to the gym, likes getting in. That might be terrible for someone who's got a slightly longer commute and then they hit that really bad bit of traffic because of the time they're dictated to get in, or the parent that has to do the school runs, or whatever it may be due to your own personal circumstances. So if you have to go to a fixed time in the office, so the best I think is 1 day in, the rest of the week you do what you want because we trust you, you're an adult, go and add value.
Yeah.
Brilliant. If you have to have a mandated time in the office, let's say 3 days, 4 days, having flexibility around your working hours is a great way to mitigate that control you're having over the days you have in. So if you're telling people when to be in and what hours to work and it's all very fixed, subliminally that sends a message that we like to control our employees. We like to tell them what to do. We like to know where they are. And people want that creativity to grow, and it sends that message. So it's a great way of giving more flexibility without giving flexibility.
So here's one for you. I don't know if you know this. There's a client we're working with at the moment. Their standard work hours are 8:30 to 5.
Yeah.
However, most of the team off record come in at 7:30.
Yeah.
Then they get to finish at 12 o'clock on a Friday.
Perfect.
However, there are, in this team, let's say there's 10 people. 9 of them do that.
Yeah.
1 of them physically can't do it because of childcare issues or whatever else.
Yeah.
That one person sits on their own on an office on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that setup?
As long as they're happy with it. You know, I think it's really hard to keep everybody happy all of the time. And you'll never achieve that. But can as an organisation, can they offer something else to that candidate that shows that they're treating them as an individual or giving them that time back in lieu?
Yep.
But some people actually like being on their own in an office because everyone goes and then they can really focus on what they're doing.
Yeah, 100%.
I heard a saying on flexible working, this is my final point on it, where a chief executive said, we don't have a culture because nobody comes into the office. And the employee said, I don't go into the office because there's no culture.
Chicken and egg.
And I'll leave you on that. I'll leave you with that.
So, hot topic of the week. First one. Check.
Done. I think we covered that.
Covered it as best we could.
Yeah.
So, next thing is always going to be a piece of advice. So this week, what have we picked?
Preparing for an interview.
Awesome. one of the basic things that we should help people with. So we thought we'd start nice and easy.
Yeah.
Give us your top tip.
Which, by the way, if you're preparing for an interview, it means you've got an interview. So you're already smashing it.
Ahead of the curve.
Yeah. You're here, right? You've got your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Don't. We can bleep that, can't we? We can bleep that. So interview advice.
So I've got an analogy.
Yeah.
So competency-based interviewing is
Yeah.
this thing that people get really, really scared about. In essence, my take on competency-based interviewing is tell the person why you're good at your job by giving a concise answer that proves you've done it previously.
Yeah.
I have an analogy that if I was going for a job and I was going to go make a cup of tea for my job, and somebody said to me, do you make a good cup of tea? And I said, yeah, I make a great cup of tea. It doesn't really tell me anything other than you're trusting me to do that.
Yeah.
If I said, I make tea as a part of my day-to-day job,
Yeah.
on one occasion I had to make tea for 6 people that I hadn't made tea for before.
Yeah.
And the way I did this quickly and most effectively was arranging the tea by the amount of sugar that each person had and cross-referenced it with the amount and the type of milk.
Yeah.
And I found that was how I made the tea most accurately in the quickest time possible.
Yeah.
It's a bit overkill, right? It's supposed to be slightly humorous, as funny as that can be. But the idea is
You're telling
demonstrate what you can do. And I think that's where people lack.
Don't assume.
Don't assume. Because what happens when you assume?
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. Say it. You make an ass out of you and me.
Exactly.
So in interview advice, my first tip
Yeah.
is nobody does this.
Go on.
But this is a secret. Ask why you got the interview.
Good.
Okay, I'll role play it with you.
Yeah, go on.
George, congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
You've got an interview. What would you normally say?
This is why I'm really good at my job.
No, what would you say if I got you an interview?
I'd say thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go, when do they want to see me?
Yeah.
And I go, Wednesday.
Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. So we're at that point.
Yeah.
If you say to me, that's really great, they've got me an interview, why do they want to see me?
Mm.
And I go, well, what they liked is your ability to make tea.
Yeah.
If you don't know that, you can't focus on it. So they go, actually, they're having real tea making issues in their company at the moment, and they like the fact that you made tea for 6 people.
Yep.
And they want to know how you do that.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into the interview, you know that you've already got that one thing that they really want.
Mm-hmm.
But if you haven't asked that question, you don't know it. So you might have a particular skill set that's so relevant, but if you don't find it out, you can't focus on it. So my first advice is ask why you got the interview. And normally the recruiter will say, well, I think I just liked your CV.
Mm-hmm.
But then get the recruiter to go back and say, just out of curiosity, these are the people that you're seeing. What was it that you liked about them? How can we get them to really elaborate and enhance what they've already done? So that pre-prep on why they wanted to see you is a really good bit of advice.
Awesome.
My second bit of advice is just be you.
Yep. 100%.
I bang on about this. We bang on about this all the time. If you go into an interview and you're just yourself and you don't get the job, it's brilliant because it wasn't meant for you. If you go into an interview and you do get the job and you're yourself, it's the home, it's the best place. That's what you want. If you're not yourself and you get the job, it's a nightmare because you can't continue to be the person that you're not.
Yep.
So go in, be yourself, and try not to treat it like an interview. Treat it like you're talking about yourself and your career and what excites you, which is all inside anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's meant to be, brilliant. If it's not, also brilliant.
I couldn't agree with you on that more. I've got another one, which is why you shouldn't get the job. So try and front it with the interviewer before it comes up. So you go to a job, you send the job spec, and there's 10 things on the spec. You know you can do 8 of them really, really well.
Yep.
That bit's going to be easy to talk about.
100%.
The last 2, you're like, oh, actually, I don't know if I can. Front it with them first. I notice you're looking for someone who can do X, Y, Z. I haven't done that, just so you know. However, I have done A, B, C, and this is why I think I can do that.
Yep.
And all it does then is quite often an interviewer won't look at your CV and go, I can notice you can do these 8 things, but you can't do these 2.
Yeah.
Then after the interview, they'll go, they can't do those 2 things. I didn't question them about it because I know they can't do it. At least if you're fronting that, then you've already given them an out as to why you technically can do that piece they didn't think you could.
Yep, it's really good advice. I like the 70-30 rule.
Yeah, I agree.
Because anything you can't do in an interview is the reason you want the job.
Yeah, that's your growth.
So hang on, I want a world-class candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I want them to be brilliant. And I want them to come in and hit the ground running and be able to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a world-class anything done something they've already done, those people are always pushing, always progressing. So the sell is actually give something back to the candidate that enables them to grow. And that's the hook as to why they want it. So if you're looking for the perfect candidate, they don't exist. There's always a growth element. So I think if someone says to me in an interview, have you done this? And I haven't, my great default answer is, I've done these things and I've really enjoyed learning and I've become really successful in that. Actually, that element there that I haven't done is something that I'm really excited about getting my teeth stuck into. And this is my thought process as how I would go about upskilling in that area. Like, you can just be honest about it.
Absolutely. I think we can push that back to hiring managers as well.
Yeah.
So think about the 100% of things this job needs to do. What are the non-negotiables?
Yeah.
Because then you can work out what the growth areas are, and then you can support the recruiter and the candidate in making sure people can tick the absolute must-have.
And that should never happen. When I come and interview with you and you know there's something about me that I haven't got, but you see me anyway.
Yes.
And then you reject me for that reason.
That's probably my biggest bugbear as a
Let's
recruiter.
just make something up. I don't have a 2-1 degree.
Yep.
I come in at an interview, you know that already,
Yep.
and you say, really like Patrick, doesn't have a 2-1 degree. We're not giving him the job.
Yeah.
I don't have a certain system. So I agree with you that there are elements of a job where there are critical skill sets. And for someone to be considered the must-haves,
Yep.
within reason, you need to understand what they are and then check and balance so you don't waste people's time.
Completely. Interview basics. This has changed.
Interview basics, yeah.
What should you wear to an interview?
Whatever you would normally wear.
I think you're right on that.
It's risky.
Yep.
I went for a pitch the other day and I wore a t-shirt and I wore some tracksuit bottoms and I wore some Nike shoes.
You did. You were against a very prestigious search firm.
And they were quite trendy tracksuit bottoms.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't my go to the tip ones, and the client actually picked up on it and they said, "What are you wearing?" And I said, "I could have put on a suit, but that wouldn't have given you a perception of who I am as an individual. And this is what I'm normally like. And either you'll like working with me for who I am or not. There's no point me pitching who I think you want to be." And the reality is, when have you ever spoken to a client who said, that recruiter was rubbish, but I liked what they wore, so I think I'm going to give them all of the business? It doesn't exist, does it?
No.
Ultimately, if you can engage with a customer and find them brilliant talent, they don't care about the fact I'm wearing flip-flops, shorts, Nikes, a tuxedo. It doesn't matter.
Not at all.
So I think going back to an interview, you want to set the right impression, but if you're going into the office, what would you wear? Wear that for an interview.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we did, yeah. But, I mean, they must have been desperate. But in interview basics for me, research the company.
Yep.
But don't just do a top level, really understand it. Don't do it to show off. Do it because if you're going to work there, you may as well understand the company. The more research you do, the more you will know if you want to work there. Don't do it to show off.
But also, don't learn the key values on the website.
No one cares.
Look at the news. Look at what's coming up. Look at the media. Have some good topics of conversation. You're in finance if you're watching this, probably.
Yeah.
Go and look at their accounts.
If
Find any
you're
anomalies.
in finance,
Yeah.
don't just look at the accounts. Study the accounts as if you're there doing the job.
100%.
What have you spotted that no one else will spot? What narrative does those accounts tell you that could lead you to a really insightful question? Dig deep.
Yep.
Go through the job description. Look at the skill sets. Where can you add value? Think of examples. A great tip that I always do is I try and find some video content on the company.
You do this, and this is awesome.
I will find someone talking about the vision. I will find someone talking about what they've done. I will even sometimes find the person I'm going to interview.
Yep.
The psychological edge that I get from watching a video of the person I'm about to meet talking, it tells me about their mannerisms, it tells me about their language, it tells me about their approach. And then that enables me to kind of go in prepared as to what I'm going to meet. It's a great tip that people don't do.
You've actually touched on something there, the psychological edge. So
100%.
Most people, when you go to an interview, people really clam up and they get nervous. But in actual fact, you know what you can do, and you've probably known a little bit about the business. So you don't technically need to do tons and tons of prep.
Yeah.
However, do enough prep that it makes you feel confident to deliver the best version of yourself.
Totally.
And for one person, that might be flick on the website in the taxi on the way to the interview. For someone else, that might be spend 4 hours going in depth through the accounts.
Yeah.
But you need to do enough to make you feel comfortable.
I like the idea of being a consumer. So if I'm going to a car company, a retailer, I'll go to a couple of their stores.
Yeah.
Go and have a look around, talk to people. And then when you're in the interview, say, well, actually, I'm taking this really seriously. I've been to see three of your different sites. And this is what I noticed. And why have you done that? And it's interesting you're doing this. And all it says to the interviewer is you're taking this seriously. Some people liken it to school. some of the brightest kids I knew really struggled with exams. They were A-star students. The pressure of the exam killed them because it's a skill set. That's the same with interviews. The best candidate doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be the best interviewer.
Absolutely.
And you have to, it's like a skill. The more you practice, the more you train. Like, I'm going to say to you, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, ask me how I am.
How are you?
I'm actually really good. I took my son to football at the weekend and he scored his first goal.
Yep.
Ask me how I am.
How are you?
Oh, brilliant. We've just finished this project at work where we're integrating this new system and it's all done. And do you know what? It's working. No one's complained. Ask me how I am.
How are you?
Oh, I've just got back from Mauritius. You get the point.
Yeah.
So you know that question's coming. So show some personality. Show something about your life. It's a free hit. You know that question is coming.
Yep.
So like prepare for that. Yeah, I'm really good. How are you?
Oh yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, you've missed an opportunity
100%.
to have a 5-minute conversation that you can dictate and drive, that psychologically builds rapport, and the first 5 minutes of an interview dictate the next 55.
Absolutely.
If you don't engage, you can pull it back. If you have a bad start, some people go, oh yeah, I wasn't sure to begin with, but they grew on me. I really liked them.
Yeah.
If you get someone, first 5 minutes, it doesn't really matter what I say, because you've already made a decision that you like me. Because you've gone, okay, well, he's married and he has a kid and he likes football. And I have a kid and I also take my kid to football. We're going to get on well. So it's a way of building bridges without even talking about the job.
So that question will come up.
Yeah.
What other parts of the interview can you guarantee there will be at some point?
Why are you looking to leave?
Yep.
Why are you interested in the role? How are you?
Yep.
Do you have any questions for us?
Bingo. Good questions, bad questions?
Just don't be lazy. Don't ask a question. Whenever you're in an event or in an interview, don't say something for the sake of someone thinking it's great.
Yep.
I could ask a really fancy question. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, that makes me look really smart. If I don't care about the answer, it's pointless.
Yep.
So I say to people, ask questions that you genuinely care about. And if it's controversial or they don't like it, at least you're being you.
Yep.
So I just think ask questions that you really want to know the answer to, because then you'll have more interest and then it becomes a discussion.
How do you feel about the golden rules of don't talk about salary, working hours, benefits,
You should know that before you go into the interview.
I agree.
But if it's really important for you to bring it up, I can't see why it would be, but if it is, do it. I think be you.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, if I'm at the interview and it's gone really well and I say, my question is, how many days holiday have you got? It doesn't end.
No.
So the best thing to do, if you do have process-led questions, don't waste time in that interview by asking them. Speak to the recruiter. The recruiter will know the money, the package, the day's holiday, the maternity, paternity, all of that information the recruiter will have. So if you can get that without wasting time to sell yourself and learn about the day-to-day content of the job, don't waste the time.
Yeah, cool. I think it's one big interview prep that we haven't covered.
Go on.
Teams versus face-to-face. Should it differ? If so,
I love a face-to-face meeting.
I do as well.
But for speed purposes and for a first round, video technology is brilliant.
Yep. Are there any big do's and don'ts?
Basics. Just check your background.
Yep.
You want to be shoulders up.
Yep.
You don't want to be really, really, so they can't see you. You don't want to be like this, really, really close.
Yep.
Nobody wants to see up your nose.
Yeah.
And if you're not used to it, so a great tip is log in. And check.
Phone your recruiter.
Yeah, and just say, can you check my background? Does this look okay?
Yeah.
Check the microphone. Dial into it beforehand. The amount of times I dial into a video call and I can't access it because I've been on another one.
Yep.
In an interview, that just says you're not prepared. So be prepared, do it. Check the background. Make sure that, you're wearing something vaguely presentable, not your dressing gown.
Yeah.
Even be in a quiet place.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if you're at home and a kid walks in an interview, brilliant, that's life. Your dog comes in and starts barking. You can't equate for these things, so roll with it. But if you can be in a quiet space where you can focus on the interview, brilliant.
I think notes in an interview and on Teams, it's so much easier. You can pin a post-it note on your monitor.
Yeah.
You can have a document open next to the interviewer with your key stuff on there. My advice is don't do it.
And also, if they ask you a tough question, pretend you're frozen. Go.
And then what was that, sorry?
And then you're thinking about it. Sorry, I think I've frozen. It gives you 2 seconds to do it.
Brilliant.
That's my advice.
Go
and smash it.
Go and smash it.
You have
Absolutely.
got this.
I think that's everything people need to know. Do you think?
Yeah.
I think everyone now
We
can
don't
go
want to
get-
overload people.
No, not at all. So, last thing.
Yeah.
Quick fire questions.
Quick fire questions. So what have we done? We've gone out to our network.
Yep. And we have asked, what would you like to know? Quick fire stuff you're scared to ask, we don't have time
so
to
we've got
ask.
10, we got 10 seconds quick fire off the cuff from the heart.
This is what we truly think.
Yeah.
Not planned.
Unfiltered.
Unfiltered, unplanned, unscripted.
Go.
Do you want me to tell you the questions?
Yes, please.
We don't have any
I
questions.
don't have any. I haven't thought of them.
Okay, yeah. Question number 1. I'll ask you.
Okay.
What is the funniest thing you've seen on a CV that made you laugh out loud? I've got one.
During COVID,
Yeah.
I had quite a senior candidate who decided to go and do some work in the local supermarket.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he thought it was being funny or this was official. He put his job title as trolley relocation engineer.
That's good.
It made me chuckle.
Yeah, I like that. Very clever. There
Cool.
was so much random jobs in COVID, weren't there?
Wasn't there?
Because people had to go and do stuff.
Yeah. Funny. Next question, Harry.
Can I give you mine quickly?
Oh, yeah, go on.
I saw a CV, and we might have to edit this because I don't know if it's appropriate. Just anyway,
Edit. What steps can someone take to make their job application stand out
to the recruiter.
to the recruiter?
Humour. Be short, sharp, and have humour. Humour engages people. What qualities do employers look for in their employees today? Is that the question?
Be human. Be you.
yeah.
Be normal. What are the tips to get a video interview right?
We kind of covered that, didn't we?
Yeah. Go on, quick fire. Top 3.
Wear some clothes.
Yep.
Check your background.
Yep.
Make sure that the camera is shoulder up.
Perfect.
Why shouldn't you use a recruitment agency?
Because whether we like it or not, lots of businesses don't want to pay a recruitment fee. So if you can get around that and be recommended by your network, you'll probably have more success. That was honest, wasn't it? Why should someone listen to this podcast?
And I have no bloody idea why they would listen to this.
I wouldn't listen.
And also, if we don't do a second episode, we all know why.
Absolutely.
No, my mum will listen.
Yeah. Mine might. That's it, I reckon. Thank you so much for listening. This will go out on Spotify, Apple, all of the normal podcast platforms. So if you do see it, please like it. Please share it with your friends. Please share it with your colleagues. Follow us on LinkedIn, and we'll see you next week where hopefully it will get a bit better.
Thank you very much.
Bye.